Hello, Debbie Downsiders. We're adding this to the episode. First, let me just say real quick. I know. There's I think maybe 2 or 3 more episodes that were recorded pre-election. Listen, a couple things. We moved past it really quick. If we mention it, it's for a minute, 2. It's less each time. You're right. What a mistake. But just know that we are trying to get the episodes closer to release. If you join the Patreon, that's where we have episodes that are recorded and we release them like the next day or like maybe a week and a half, but much closer. And our goal as we go this podcast, the more you tell your friends to listen, the more Patreons we have, is to start doing quicker turnaround. And that's our goal. Now we are here not just for that. We wanted to announce something. But I think it's superseded by the fact that I've had 3 Lunchleys in my fridge for a couple weeks now that I was sent by like some Mr. Beast account wrote me on Instagram, do you want free Lunchleys? And if you're not following this is like Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, and whoever helps with the Prime drink. I'm not sure. He's like a Twitch streamer. And there was a controversy. No one likes these guys to begin with. Some of it's fair, some of it probably exaggerated, a lot of it fair. So they have this like what's the other version of this for kids? Lunchables. And they found out that a lot of the cheese was moldy. So you heard that part.
I didn't.
And I was gonna be like, oh, we will open it on the pod and we'll be a part of this. But again, thank God we didn't because delay with the election, all this stuff. It would feel very dated. So, but then I just left it there. And then Russell saw it and said, can I eat this?
It says that it has another 2 weeks till it expires. I'm hungry. I missed lunch today to get here on the podcast on time. And I thought, if it's not expired, can I eat this?
The question, though, the reason that like I was also nervous is that if it has mold, it was shipped to a place that I get my packages sent to. I had to start finding a place because it kept getting stolen at my apartment. So like, I don't know if does it say that it needs to be refrigerated the entire time?
It says be refrigerated, basically. Keep refrigerated, do not freeze.
If the cheese is moldy, here's what I'm saying.
Can I tell you one thing?
I can't 100% say that it is their fault.
Okay. Can I tell you one thing? I already had one of these.
In the fridge?
Yeah.
When?
But I had one. There's one left now. One of those days where I had to take a meeting after we had a podcast. I was like, I'm not waiting. I was like,
I don't know how long it was at the UPS center.
That one had the cheese stuff. Like that was more of a. That makes me more nervous than this, which is like a pizza. Okay, hold on. Let me. Do you want to try the cherry freeze?
I mean, I hate cherry. I don't. Okay, this is now a food podcast. What if this part just went mega viral and we said, well, we're leaning in. Cheese look okay?
Oh, I'm gonna have to eat food. Okay. It's
solid. It's in a chunk.
It's in a chunk.
Oh, that smell is awful. Oh my God. Oh, that pepperoni smell is just atrocious. Can you not smell that?
I smell it. Oh, it's not bothering me.
It's such a.
But I'll tell you what. I'm going to start with the chocolate. Usually a safer bet.
You could make these videos. People make millions of dollars doing what you're doing right now.
Can I tell you something? It's that thing where if we hadn't talked about the quality, I wouldn't think a thing of it. I throw it in my mouth, but it's with everybody. You're like, is this bad? Is this rotten? Is this gonna make me throw up?
Okay. Can I drink this? It says 0225. Okay, I'm gonna have that a little bit. Okay, that's not what we're here for.
No.
We are going on tour. Listen, the announcement was sloppy. I think I said it on the Patreon before I said it on the regular, but tickets were not on sale yet. I've been announcing way too many things. And I'm having trouble, and then tickets aren't available, or then they say, don't announce it, then you got to announce this. We're going to get better at it. We're going to release the episode closer to. I'm doing my best, guys. The bottom line is we're still making some funny, and that's what matters the most. What is wrong? Oh, why on your pants?
Just keep going. Keep going.
Okay. All right, watch the video, guys. So what I want to say is I just want to give you guys the announcement of when these live dates are coming up. Listen, We are going to maybe try to live stream one on the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. We have some more live ones that we can't announce yet, but are coming up as well. And if you don't live in these cities, tell us to come to your city. We will try. Every city I go to now, there are Debbie Downsiders, and it's like, once there's enough, Russell and I will come. But what you could do if you have friends in these places, tell them to come to the show. If you like my stand-up, I'll be doing stand-up at the beginning. If you like singing, we'll be doing some singing. I have a new song that I do want to talk to you about.
Okay.
And it's so we will be in Toronto, January 22nd at the Comedy Bar. Toronto was so good to me. We did 11 shows there, and we're doing this one. So please come check it out.
Love Toronto.
Tickets are already moving. We'll be in Chicago March 9th, Los Angeles March 11th, San Diego March 12th, Portland, Oregon March 14th, Seattle March 15th, and San Francisco March 16th. I had no idea. That's a lot of fucking dates. We do stand-up. We talk. We have so we might have one or two guests sometimes, but Sunday's just gonna be me and Russell. We're gonna do some trivia. We're gonna do some crowd work. We're gonna ask you guys who had the worst month and discuss trivia with prizes, singing. It's a blast. If you like the podcast, if you enjoy us, meet and greets for every show.
Yes, every show.
We'll take pics.
We'll go with you somewhere.
Sure.
We'll do it.
We built in more time this time to do maybe a more fun thing. And we have a thing you can submit your This Has Got to Stop. We got a hat. It's a great show. And we already did a little East Coast run and we learned a lot. And it's going to be a blast. So get those tickets. Links will be below. Keep on listening. We're almost past the election. And this episode is so good. This is where we start talking about OCD. My God, this is where my brain, it literally puts up a block. Okay. It puts up a block. I know him in my head.
Sean Patton.
Yeah. And it's there, and you say it and you go, oh, it's right there.
Yeah.
But I know him, and you got to watch The English Teacher. Enjoy the episode.
Enjoy Lunchly.
If Russell dies, I will still go to all those cities before. And what do you think ultimately?
Ultimately, okay, I'll be honest. Ultimately, it's not good. Ultimately, you would never choose this. But as someone who needs food right now in this moment, it's fine.
What is it called again? It's called Lunchly? Lunchly. If you need sustenance.
But Lunchly, if you hear this and you want me to change my tune and you offer me a little money, I will change
How
my
much
tune,
money
baby.
for you to eat a full box on the podcast and each one going,
honestly, $5,000. I do that. I'll do it.
5,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn it. It's pretty good. Thank you, Lunchly.
Thank you.
Enjoy the episode.
I mean, I'm very optimistic. I mean, Brian's genius. Brian and Steph they've been working together. Stephanie's genius as well. I mean, the writers were all fucking awesome, and the producers and the Jonathan Kreisel, who directed a lot of the episodes, who created Portlandia and Baskets and all these great. I mean,
now where's your promo videos taking off your shirt like Brian and just dancing?
I mean, I am I don't, dude. If I did that, I don't know what would happen, because just from the one episode where I'm like shirtless up to here, in the pool, my DMs
Really?
I mean, it's the reminder that gay men are still men. And there is no boundary. It's pretty flattering, to say the least.
What's I mean, you getting straight dick pics? You getting
from what I understand, or maybe just from my experience, it's not dick pics. It's like verbal dick pics. It's like things written out. I'm like, you're comfortable with that being in print?
Yeah. When I was in Titanic, I would get those kind of once in a while. Get those kind of messages.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. This is so sad. It was a lot. Can I take you out for a sandwich, big boy, big boy?
Man,
can I take you out for a sandwich, big boy?
Is that code now?
I don't know.
What's a sandwich mean?
I don't know. I think it was literal because I'm fat. Like it was like, hey, fat boy.
It's also a cheap date. It's like, hey, I'll get you a foot long at Subway.
Can I take you out for a
sandwich?
mean,
I've gotten everything from next time you're in town, would love to buy you a drink to I will drain your balls. Tell me where you live. You know what I mean? And I'm like, great. I'm flattered by all of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm optimistic as shit. As can be. I think, You just don't know. But also, from what I understand, FX, part of the reason they're FX is they take their time. They really explore.
Sure.
But I think I'm with you guys. The show is pretty fucking. It's awesome to be a part of, and I'm hoping it was awesome to do. Everyone involved felt like they were. It didn't feel like anyone didn't want to be there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Everyone. I'm talking from, cast to writers to fucking PAs. Everyone there was just. Everyone was in it. Everyone felt like, oh man, we're doing something good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to The Downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here with my co-host, Russell Daniels.
Hi.
And we are joined
Thank you.
by phenomenal comedian and actor, Sean Patton. Welcome to the
Thank
show.
you for having me.
Now, this is the last episode we're recording before the election. So as much as Russell wants to, he cannot quote his favorite Tony Hinchcliffe jokes from last night's set. He couldn't decide is the bottom line. He does the whole set.
Brother.
How
long was that set? I only saw the one clip.
I watched the full.
You watched the full.
Well, I watched the full set.
rally.
I watched the set.
How long was it?
I mean, it felt like 12 minutes.
Oh shit!
And there was a lot. It was. I think we're going to record a little thing after this to put out now.
Yeah.
Because I hated it so much. I feel so many feelings about it. But just bad. There's just sometimes where I go, sometimes the conversation becomes like, is this appropriate? And I just go, it's also bad. Can we point out that it's bad comedy?
What part of me wonders if this whole if he didn't do it on purpose.
Come on, that's a little.
That's giving credit.
If it was, there's a couple comedians I go maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like if Tony Hinchcliffe has been a character this whole time that
Yeah.
like
A
it's-
liberal plant.
Yeah.
Like him suddenly Hari Kondabolu emerges and goes like, we've been in it together the whole time.
I would love to sit those two in a room.
Let's do a jubilee, like a jubilee with
See what that conversation turns out to be. But I don't know. I feel like Tony's also just like he's an agent of chaos. Like I you know what I mean? Like you're gonna put that if for some reason the Harris campaign would have been like, hey, you've put people of color on and given guys like Cam Patterson platforms and now they're kind of famous and he's a young black dude from Orlando, like do our campaign. I think he would have done the same thing. I don't think to him it's like political.
But I think it's more better like to make politicians scared to have a comedian on the lineup again.
yeah.
And whether purposeful or not, I hope that's the conclusion that they go like, oh yeah, we're not getting a stand-up comic to open the thing.
Yeah.
They should go, oh fuck, we don't want to get that.
Yeah.
Who knows where
Yeah.
that's gonna go?
I mean, I know there's a segment that we're supposed to jump into this later in the podcast, but I kind of just want to jump into it now.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'd really like I hope this puts an end to this fucking idea that comedians should be doing anything but stand-up comedy.
Sure.
Because that's something like, yes, you have exceptions to the rule. Like I do think Jon Stewart actually knows what the shit he's talking about.
Okay, so where's the distinction there? Because I thought about today where I go like, don't ever talk to politicians, and I go, well, some people seem to that is part of, but what is the line?
Well, I think the line is obvious. Like I think it's like, to me also that conversation, they're like, where's the line? I'm like, well, the line can be applied in different situations.
Sure.
Society has this insane idea that if the line is here and it can't move, it can't be situational.
Yeah.
There's it's one line and the situation doesn't. No, it's like, how about we just apply it to every single comedian? You can do that. A guy like Jon Stewart obviously knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Sure.
Fact check him, research him. He knows what he's talking about.
But did not Colbert know what he was talking about? And suddenly you go, now it seems like you're just doing propaganda for the DNC all of a sudden.
Yes,
It slides.
it slides.
Something happens, slides. Yeah.
And I think the early version of Colbert was like, now that was, excuse me, Jesus Christ.
Hell yeah.
Now that was political comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Where it wasn't really serious.
But what changed it? Do you think? I think what I imagine
money.
changes big money, but also like you're just around. You're in a green room, and you're snacking together, and then you have a nice conversation with Vivek Ramaswamy, and then you go, he's kind of funny. There was the video of the owl whatever
it's
video.
harder to be like around and not have it be a little uncomfortable for you if you're always making fun of people. You know what I mean? Like there is a thing of like, you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just agree with them.
that's the problem with the online thing too. Is like I have people that I've said crazy shit online, and then one day I see them in person, and I have to confront the fact that I'm a little bit of a non-confrontational coward.
Yeah.
And it's like both are bad. We don't interact with. We're able to just go hog wild online.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And reverse.
Well, there are guys people I'm friends with who I wish would take more responsibility for the shit they say.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I think there's this whole idea of like comedians shouldn't be held accountable for what we say on stage. I'm like, I do agree with you. The problem is also, though, that a lot of audience out there are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And cannot differentiate for themselves what is a joke and what is not. So I don't think it should alter what we say.
Sure.
But I do think there should also be and by the way, just let me make this clear that was a fucking joke.
Yeah.
If it's really a joke. Because I think I don't think we should have to do that, but like, I don't know. It sucks because I know people, we all know people who I think are obviously kidding. Or doing it tongue in cheek or being facetious, and their fan base doesn't.
Sure, but some of those people, I thought it was tongue in cheek. And then I look
at
one
some
day and I
point,
go,
there's a financial component where,
Well, yeah, of course.
or
they actually believed it. I think there are some where I go like I saw a comedian. It's going to be so specific to this moment that happened a month ago. But I saw a comedian who was kind of trying to frame it in the exact same way where comics were talking about Shane Gillis, and I was like, "But that was a comedy podcast, though. This was the opening of a rally. It cannot get closer to not comedy." As a thing, then can I get closer to propaganda than this?
Yeah,
and that's just it's the problem is that I think if I look back on that podcast era, if I could be who I am now back then, I would have been like, it's a comedy podcast. Like, what are we going to make a big deal out of it? But then I see how big factions of that segment shifted into full-on propagandists.
Oh yeah, also, to your point, like I do think that like, a lot of people who it's about the ticket sales. It's why a lot of comedians just stay neutral, yet, they shit on the left, but kind of playfully jab the right. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And like, hate the left, oh God. But like, the right, come on, they're not that bad. And it's because right now, that's who's buying tickets.
Yeah.
So people are thinking about tickets. This is capitalism at its finest, where it's like, you can justify any action, but they got to get paid. They're making money. It's like, that's sad. That fucking sucks. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I don't think, like, people shit on Theo Vaughn for having both Bernie and Trump on. I'm like, he's being a fucking journalist in a lot of ways.
Sure.
I mean, it's crazy to say that but it's Theo. I like Theo. I think,
but also at the same time.
Yeah. But he's not perpetuating an agenda on either way.
You don't think so at all? You think it's just a neutral party?
I do. I do think Theo is being, yes. I think Theo's being... I don't think he's saying fuck Bernie and vote for Trump or fuck Trump, vote for Bernie. Vote for Bernie.
He goes on, Theo goes on Twitter and he goes, the mainstream media is lying to you. And I go, bitch, you are the mainstream media now. And all that you have been striving to do, all these comedians, it's like what they've been striving to do is to be taken seriously and to be called journalists. And I go, okay, you want to be journalists? Then there's some new standards.
Okay.
There's some new standards.
True.
Even if you're...
Not hear your point.
Why play... I guess why play with that?
I think what's weird to me is like you want
ticket
to.
Sales.
Why do you want to?
Ticket sales, of course.
Ticket sales.
But yeah, ticket sales. Exactly.
But
you're like, if I can get JD Vance or...
What kind of audience members are these audiences are not going to be good for comedy. The problem is no one ever goes back to, was the comedy show good? Was a joke told that you thought was funny? It's just success for the sake of success itself.
Unfortunately, that doesn't matter anymore in the mainstream comedy world.
This is the downside.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Downside. You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
This is the downside. This is a place where we complain, get negative. If you're a fan, join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. 2 bonus episodes every month.
We had a Patreon tell us to stop talking politics recently.
Yeah.
And,
but didn't tell us which aspect of our politics.
Well, also, when everyone says stop talking politics, you're like, you just mean agree with me. Like, you're like, how to live in the world and not have any sort of... and also, we're not saying, like, when we talk about things happening in the world, I'm not saying like you have to agree with it. I don't know. It's just one of those things where you're like, when you say stop talking about politics because you're comedians, and you're like, we weren't telling you to vote for, we weren't telling you what to do. We were just talking about things that are happening in the world,
It's
which
Israel.
is a fucking podcast.
It's Israel.
You
Yeah,
also,
no,
you
it's
also want to
Israel.
be like, okay, then you also stop talking politics, fucking automotive repair shop manager. Why the fuck are you? Why am I not?
Yeah.
Like, at least comedians see the world.
Yeah.
That will forever be my argument with anyone who ever gives me shit. If I ever, and I rarely ever talk politics,
Yeah.
but I've had that before. People are like, "Oh, you're supposed to be a comedian." I'm like, I've lived in other, like, more than one fucking place my entire life. How about that?
Yeah.
I've been to 5 continents repeatedly. How about that? How about I travel nonstop and see the world versus you, person in Slidell, Louisiana, who's like, I travel. I go to Gulf Shores, Alabama twice a year. I'm like, that's not traveling.
Yeah.
That's going on vacation with the same 8 people you see on a weekly basis. You're just setting up a Louisiana embassy. That's all you're fucking doing. You don't know shit, and I don't give you shit for not knowing shit, but now you're coming at me because you don't want to hear my perspective because it's different from yours.
Yeah.
You fucking twat. Stay there in Eden Isles. I'm naming neighborhoods
Wow.
now. Anyway, sorry. Woo! Negative.
No.
You told me I could get negative.
Yes,
Please.
please.
And listen, this is the biggest New Orleans fan in the
I
whole
am.
world.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
He grew up
Over
there.
here. Yes.
Well, I ran into you.
My parents dragged me to the suburbs when I was a teenager, but well, not drugged me. I willingly went because I hated everything. You know how it is when you're 13.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you ran into me while we were filming a sketch thing.
You film was the hottest. It was the hottest I've ever been in a place
until this year, until this summer.
Until this summer. I was my girlfriend grew up in New Orleans. And we had this. It was a really beautiful moment. We were eating the sugar-covered beignets. Beignets. And a band started playing, and she started crying. In a way, she doesn't cry in this way as often, but just was so moved, and she missed the band and the music. And do you have a love for New Orleans?
I do, man. I mean, I have a love for New Orleans and a simultaneous seething hatred for the state of Louisiana.
Yeah.
But it's been like that my whole life. Like, it's one of the shittiest, stupidest, most corrupt dog shit states in the world.
Tell me about it. What's wrong with
Everything. It's corrupt from the top. It's been the most corrupt state forever. It's now, it leans, it puts all of its money into the church. It placates to the hardcore extreme right. It's the last in education, last in healthcare, and the rest of the state hates New Orleans. It's a very like fuck New Orleans because no one cares about like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I got nothing against the people of Baton Rouge, but there's this vibe in Baton Rouge that they're like the excuse me, Jesus Christ.
I know. I drink it on stage and I go,
the superior state. They're like, this is where the university is. You're like, well, New Orleans has 5 or 6 universities, but they just have the big LSU, and like, they hate New Orleans, and like people. Lafayette, I actually love. I love Lafayette, New Orleans. Lafayette, Louisiana. That's how much I love it. I consider it part of New Orleans, not part of the state of Louisiana. But that's a western city. And I like Baton Rouge, but the rest of Louisiana is just, it's a very backwards place. It's a very backwards thinking. It doesn't give a shit about women. Obviously, what was it? They were the first to pass the legislature that, you can. I think I might be paraphrasing or misquoting here, but you can now be arrested for giving or having morning after pill or birth control.
really?
Yeah, I think it's gone that bad. It's gone.
Oh, God.
But it's always been a corrupt state. Like, you go anywhere in that fucking state and you see the infrastructure cracking.
Yeah.
You see it all starting to fall apart. Even the mayor of Louisiana, of New Orleans right now is an asshole.
Who's the mayor?
LaToya Jackson.
LaToya Jackson. She's in a bunch of scandal, a couple scandals.
She's an asshole.
Happening,
and she's more in cahoots with the state than she is with the city. So it's like I love New Orleans, but it is in a sinkhole of a state.
Yeah.
And
That's so sad that the magic of New Orleans doesn't expand.
No, but it'd be hard to extend it. You go to, I mean, New York City is very different from upstate New York. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I'm not saying it's the same exact thing, but there's growing up in upstate, there was a real hatred of New York City from where I grew up.
Yeah.
Like, they fucking hate the city.
Man.
Yeah.
A lot of them, not everyone, but like a lot of people hate it.
More than once in my life, I've talked about this on stage, but more than once in my life, I've been like in another part of the country and talked about being on stage, being like, oh, I live in New York, and someone will, woo. And I'll go, do you live there? And they go, yeah. And I'll be like, what borough? And they'll be like, Albany.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't. I'm sorry, but no one cares.
Yeah, I'm so
And
sorry.
I get it. And I
Yeah.
get, but like, I don't know. That's just a weird mindset to me to be that, to be like somewhat like a Shreveport, Louisiana, being like, well, I mean, we're not, there's other cities in Louisiana. I'm like, yeah, no one fucking cares.
Yeah.
I've been to Shreveport. It sucks. Okay. No offense, people of Shreveport, but you suck. Not you, the city. I don't think the people, I never go after the people.
It's the
It's the city. It's the government of that city. It's I don't think the people of Louisiana suck. I think the government and the infrastructure
That was voted into power by the people.
Yeah.
No, but like it is
the
such a
people are lied
corrupt.
to.
It's such a
and-
corrupt thing. I mean,
Sure.
I read a book recently about the Huey P. Long from the that was
Oh,
the
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, oh man,
Yeah.
crazy
Who's this?
shit. He was a governor of Louisiana
Yeah.
and they called him the Kingmaker. He basically was like a leftist like Trump. Like he was a dictator by all means, but he did some kind of cool progressive things, but he was so corrupt. I mean, he would just put, he would just do what he did to get everything he wanted,
What
This
did
is
he
in the
pass that
30s.
was like leftist?
I mean, like he built the roads, he made sure kids had free books. He the highways in Louisiana
There's a
was a
bridge
big
named
deal.
after him.
There were things that he was like, and he kind of had it out for like the people of the people that controlled things in New Orleans too, because he didn't come from that. So, anyways, but an interesting whole thing.
Now,
Yeah.
my girlfriend, she left after Katrina.
Well, she was also one of 7 Jewish people in New Orleans.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a little squad of Chabad,
There's a little squad.
a little squad of
Yeah.
Chabad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, she left after Katrina. Yeah.
What year was Katrina again?
2005.
2005. So were you still in Louisiana during that time?
Yeah, I was there. I got out right, like myself and I mean, I've told this story before, but itself, going through it so many times, you get used to it. The hurricane's coming, it's gonna hit.
Yeah.
You get used to it. And I remember I woke up on the morning it hit early. My dad had called me. Like my dad never called me, and he called me. He was a texter, or we had those two-way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nextel.
Yeah.
And he would me a lot because it was a family business and I worked there and whatever. And he had beeped to me, but I had it on vibrate, so he was calling me. And I called him back, and he was just like, you got to get the fuck out of the city. He's like, my sister at the time was at LSU in grad school, so we were like, they're heading to Baton Rouge, get the fuck out. And we never evacuated for storms ever.
Yeah.
Ever. It was like a thing he almost took pride in, like weathering hurricanes. And we did it right. Like, he knew how to do it. We got supplies. And like I've said this before, if it's like a category 3 or less, they're not that bad.
Sure.
You can weather. The power's going to go out for a day or two, but if you know how to do it, it could be kind of fun. But that was,
It's gotta be so tough because whenever there's a storm, there was a recent one in Florida where like they always seem to say like, guys,
Yeah.
we're really serious this time.
Yeah.
And then whenever it's not as intense as they say, I know they go, fuck, they're not gonna buy it.
I know,
next
the
time.
next time,
Tampa Bay was, and then the Buccaneers are playing in Tampa Bay less than a month later. I mean, dude, you want to talk about fucked Asheville?
Yeah.
Asheville is fucked beyond belief. Like I am shocked it is not getting more national attention.
Yeah.
Because the fucking Black Mountains of Asheville were never supposed to experience a hurricane, let alone be ravaged by a Category 4. Like I have friends there, and it's like, dude, the city's wiped out, man. It's fucked.
Really?
And it's one of my favorite places in the country.
Oh,
and
God.
like they roads are taken out, electricity's been gone for look. It's not supposed to flood.
No, yeah.
The Appalachia's not supposed to flood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Florida and the Gulf Coast, I'll say this, at least, especially in places like New Orleans too, we know how to begin the process of life after a storm.
Yeah.
It happens every year. We know how to start over and just, okay, we know how to get through this. They are like, whoa, man. It would be like if an earthquake hit New Orleans.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the fuck are we supposed to do right now? It's like, or like if a blizzard ravaged Puerto Rico, you'd be like, how do you, it's a natural disaster that's not supposed to hit that part of the country.
So
and it has.
When Katrina happened, did they really sound the alarms like appropriately like before?
They sounded the alarms last minute, but that's even if they would have sounded That's what I'm saying. You go through it so many times that it's like, sure thing. But I do remember myself and another comic, we were at this bar called the Balcony Bar on Magazine.
Oh, yeah.
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 And we were upstairs and we were drinking because like every hurricane season, places had like hurricane parties and, we're up there drinking. And it was that moment when the National Guard was deployed and early. They deployed, and like cops were coming in and being like, go. It is now a mandatory evacuation.
Wow. Okay.
So at like, I don't know, 10:30 p.m., I drove to Baton Rouge, 3 beers in. I was probably shouldn't have been about 4 beers in, but so that was good.
A mass evacuation where everyone's drunk driving.
Well, also, no, by that point, no one was on the road, but the roads were contraflow. That's a weird thing to witness.
What is that?
It means out only.
You can only go
You can
out.
only go out.
Wow.
Yeah, you can only go out. So
Are
like,
there lights or there's cops just
yep,
going like,
there's like barricades set up, and it's like you could get on either side. Doesn't matter. You out. You out only. Out only. Out only. No, nothing's coming back in.
So this is, I know this is ignorant of me, but I wasn't paying attention when I was that age.
Yeah.
What was the big fuck up of Katrina? What in terms of like, was it after? Was it afterwards? That's where the government, because I took a cabin when I was in New Orleans, and like the guy explained to me the conspiracy theory, but one that he believed very strongly, that they blew the levees.
Yeah.
And could you sum up what that is?
I mean, a lot of people. Yeah, that. So basically, there was apparently loud bangs heard, and right before the flooding,
knowing that it would flood the Ninth Ward, the poor area and preserve more wealthier areas from flooding more.
And then some people claim it was like just a barge that hit, that went rogue from the flooding and just and I don't think they blew the levees. What I do think is, because that was the thing like the storm hit. Then it was gone and it passed. And then, news reports from people on the floor, on the ground at first were like, okay, it seems like everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, it was pure bedlam. Because the flooding didn't happen. I can't remember the exact amount of time, but I want to say 48 hours. I want to say 2 full days went by. Storm passes, a day, maybe 2, and then flooding. And then it was just, whoa, shit. I do think the government's response was purposeful. I do think the government's response was, hey, let it flood. Let's see what happens. If it's too bad, then we can declare martial law. We can get down there. We can, through some loophole, bulldoze some of these historic sites because we can deem them. And then New Orleans becomes $1 billion industrial park.
They can get rid of some of the public housing and turn it into...
And then we can make a lot more money from it being a port. But the resiliency of the people there was like, nah. And I bet the government of Louisiana was in cahoots. I bet they were complacent as well.
Yeah.
I bet they were also, because they could have, Baton Rouge was not decimated by that storm. There were some trees knocked down. That's where the capital is.
Sure.
I was there. I was in Baton Rouge when it finally hit. And it's where my sister lived. And imagine that, a fucking 8 of us in my sister's 1-bedroom apartment. Yeah. But
how long was that? How long did that last? Before you went?
8 days.
Was your place in New Orleans flooded?
I lived on the 2nd floor, so the water didn't get into my apartment, but the mold did.
Oh my God.
And that shit was ugly. That shit was like walking in with like, whoa, and it was just kind of
shit.
Jesus Christ.
But you went
last one. That's 3. Like those are unexpected. Those are not on purpose.
They really are surprising you.
They're fucking just completely.
Yeah, they really.
Jesus.
It's like that scene in The Jinx where he like admits that he murdered people, and it's just like he's burping and barking.
If you like slow down these belches and play them backwards, I'm like,
of
giving
course
up.
I did. I killed them all.
I'm like, I blew the levees. I am Latoya Jackson. I wrote Hinchcliffe's roast jokes. I'm just fessing up with every belch.
Jesus.
So,
but yeah, it was fucking wild, man. No, I actually, 2 of my friends, right after the storm passed, we were like, okay, if everything's fine, we can't go. Oh, that was the big thing. It was like, no one come back into the city for a minute, though. We don't the city's not reopened yet. So we got in a car and we were going to our another friend of ours who lived in Vail, Colorado. We were driving to Vail. We were just going to go kick it for however long.
Yeah.
We get to Oklahoma City where we had another friend we drive hey, we're going to stay the night in Oklahoma City. And we get to his house, his mom's like, you guys haven't been listening to the news, have you? And it was like, oh, the city's now underwater.
Yeah.
So we kicked it in Oklahoma City for like a day. And then we're like, Jesus Christ. And then my dad called me again and was like, we don't know what the shit we're doing, but get back. So we get back. And where my parents' house was the North Shore. It got flooded pretty bad too, but it receded pretty, way faster. The city's a bowl.
Yeah.
So North Shore got flooded. Like my parents' house got flooded pretty bad, but my dad was a nut about insurance.
Sure.
Our whole life. He had everything was insured, so they did okay. But we had to like tear out the bottom floor of my parents' place, and there was a FEMA trailer, all that shit. But then we drove back, and by the time you got back into the city, it was fucking wild. I mean, there was a curfew for a while.
What was the curfew?
If you were on the streets after midnight, you were detained, no questions asked. Happened to me twice.
Sure.
They didn't charge you with anything, right? You weren't arrested. You were simply detained and taken off the streets, and then released at like 7 a.m., 8 a.m.
The only time I've ever dealt with a curfew was 2020.
Oh yeah, that shit was scary, dude.
And it's something about a curfew. You go, is it over?
It feels like
is
the end of the
society
world.
done?
Dude, are
we cooked?
That was a fucking scary week, dude.
Oh my god!
Here in New York, that was a scary ass week.
Why did one? I did some of the marches.
Yeah.
And there was one where there was a curfew, and we were breaking the curfew.
Yeah.
And it was going down. I think I called everyone I knew, but it was like 3rd Avenue or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was packed, and it felt like someone made a call to the NYPD, like busted up, because suddenly all of a sudden you felt that herd where you could feel everyone starting to move a little faster, and suddenly you're like, I'm in a river. We're all moving fast. If I trip, I could die.
Yeah.
And then the cops just started tackling people to the floor, arresting them right then and there, and it was an awful feeling.
Yeah, dude, I was in Brooklyn the whole time, and on some of those marches, it was like, all right, I'm on along with this, and then you see a lot of cops. I'm like, I'm gonna let the 22-year-olds handle this part. Y'all go dive with your fucking construction helmets and your Hong Kong. You know what I'm saying? They'd read the like how to protest like Hong Kong kids. I'm like, yeah, it didn't work, did it? Didn't fucking work in Hong Kong, unfortunately. But I'm like, you'd see because you'd see those kids showing up in like their helmets and their masks with the skull shit.
Yeah.
And like a police helicopter go by, and they'd be like, "Fuck you!" And they're like, "Yeah, get it, 24-year-old. Get it."
Your bones will recover from when they're broken.
I'm gonna get about 6 blocks away, step aside, crack a beer because I've been drinking this whole time. I don't know how the fuck you haven't been. Watch from afar and then hide and seek my way back to my apartment. No justice, no peace. I'll donate. Bye.
Yeah.
I'll donate to the bail fund.
I think I told this on before, but one time I was on one of those marches, and it got to we did the march. We got to like where they're gonna have speakers, and we're there, and this first speaker comes up, and she goes, what we need to be talking about instead of the police today, we need to be talking about black on black crime. And I was like, oh no, I was like, I can't be at this one. Like it would all been regular the whole time before, and then I was like, wait, what? No. And then people were yelling at her, and they were like, no. And I was like, I can't stay. Like it was very strange to be like, okay, I guess I'm gonna leave now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, dude, also, but post Katrina, there was none of that. It was just you. But then bars started doing lock-ins.
Oh, what's that mean?
What's that?
That would be at midnight. They locked the door, and as long as you were not on the streets, they didn't seem to give a shit.
Oh.
So the bars would be like, "Hey, pay a certain amount. We're going to lock the doors
Till when? Till morning?
Till 6 a.m.
Oh my god!
Oh
So
my
you're
God,
just in the bar drinking, and they'll let you smoke in there. And some of them even provided food. It was not every bar. It was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But people did that.
That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
To be honest,
And then but then they lifted the curfew on New Year's Eve. So I remember that was like one of the most psycho New Year's Eves I've ever experienced.
Oh yeah.
It was like it was New Year's Eve turning 2006, where I was like, all right, now you could stay out all
so
night.
is everyone drinking like crazy in New Orleans? I mean, it sounds like, or were you a wild?
No, it's always, I mean, the thing about New Orleanian drinking is that it's moderate. And I know that sounds crazy to say out loud, but like, because it's accessible, I don't find people generally go, like Chicago is a city, and I love Chicago. That is a city where people drink like it's the end of it all. or the beginning of it all. Depending on what bar you're going to. Like, they can see the ghost of Al Capone. You know what I mean? Like, and he's going, I fucking got syphilis for you. But like, people in Chicago drink at an impressive rate. Where they get fucking day drunk, shit faced, smash. It's beautiful. The Midwest in general. I find Louisiana, especially like summertime when it's fucking shitty hot.
Yeah.
People drink at a very slow, moderate pace. Yes, they'll drink from 2 p.m. to 3 a.m., but it's moderate. It's sipping.
I was in Appleton, Wisconsin, which I guess is
they-
number one in DUIs in the country.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they all like talk about it with this kind of like sort of pride.
Oh, yeah,
sort of
dude.
like we're all drunk. And I'm like, is it because it's sad here? Or are you just like, that's just the culture?
That is, Wisconsin specifically is like beer.
number one in America.
Yeah.
What do you
Appleton.
mean? What is beer? This thing that I have in my hand all the time? I thought this was oxygen juice, or whatever. Like, they breathe beer.
Yeah.
They love beer in that state. But also, a place I plan to buy land one day.
Really?
Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
What about that? You want to just
You ever
beautiful?
been? You ever
No.
been to Eau Claire?
No. Is there a club there? Then no.
There is comedy there, and it's
Really?
it's magnificent. It's like an hour and change east of Minnesota. Right. So
Is there a lake?
There is a there is a lake. Eau Claire does mean clear water.
Oh, okay.
You know Bon Iver, the band?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No.
Justin Vernon's from there.
Okay.
So he put a bunch of money back. There's like a little liberal arts school there.
Oh.
A conservative art school. I don't know if that exists, but
Conservative art school.
Conservative art school.
I don't, but there's a.
They all want to be on Kill Tony someday. They're studying.
They're all exactly. I mean, what even is a conservative
arts.
Like writing up new slurs.
Yeah.
I can divide. There's a wall, but it's very avant-garde. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look like a wall until the immigrant runs into it and is electrified.
Or
It's
like
clear.
a movement class where it's like, like La Cage aux Folles where they had to make him be a man.
Yeah.
It's like that. They're all like, this is how you be a man.
Yeah.
So be a lady.
Yeah.
I mean, that's etiquette school. That's a conservative
Right.
art school, essentially.
Like, you could, they'll engrave just look at this bullet. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
The engraving on this hollow point, on this 357 Magnum hollow point, it's beautiful. But no, there's a school there, and it's this little amazing little hamlet downtown. This little, and like, there is a great little, very tiny little comedy scene there. I do shows there every year, and it's also just, like I said, hour and change away from Minneapolis, maybe 2.5 hours from Madison, and that's arguably my favorite club, one of my favorite clubs actually Minneapolis and Madison, my two favorite clubs in the country, Acme and Comedy on State.
Wow.
Right?
Sure. I haven't been either yet. It's my dream. Hopefully next year.
They would have
I'm
you.
hoping.
They would have you. But I'm just saying, it's also like when the floodwaters, when the sea risings start fucking up the coasts,
You got a place.
that's far enough away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
When did you first go there? Just like from doing comedy stuff?
2015. I was doing Comedy on State, and my agent at the time was like, "Hey, we got this offer. It's like a few hours away, but it's decent, and you're already in the area, so why not?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll go do a Sunday night show in the middle of nowhere." And I was blown away. I was
Build a comedy club.
I mean,
Do you ever want to own a comedy club?
I would love to be in a position one day to bankroll one
Yeah.
and to have complete control over how it's built
Sure.
and what it looks like, but then not run it at all.
Not have to run it. Yeah.
Not run it at all,
Yeah.
not book it at all, not do any of the day-to-day shit. Show up once a year and do my week.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or show up a large handful of times over a year and do one-nighters, special
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
But like, because I think any good comedian could I like all three, right? You know, any great comedian, right? What else? Who else? You know what I mean? Any who else? You know, let's go knock on every door in the studio here. But could design a club in a way where you're like, this is how it should be, in a perfect. But like, then nothing. I want to walk away because I don't want to ever run it. That part, no, thank you. I don't even want to book it.
Yeah.
Just hire a person who's like, I trust you. You get it. I know there's going to be a handful of fucking bookings where I'm like, really? But I get it. And I'll see.
See, that's where I'd have to still be like, what the fuck is this? Who's this person?
Yeah.
I'd be annoyed.
Oh, yeah. That's. I mean, but I think that's what makes you a real comic. If you look at the lineup of any club and just 52 times in a row go, yep. Yeah, you're lying. You're a liar. You know? There's going to be at least 5 fuck-offs.
Yeah.
And then at least 5 more, wow.
Sure.
And then 1, okay, that's a favor. Maybe more of those. Maybe 3, that's a favors. But so you should only agree with 38.
And then there's a special events, like the Funny Bone has psychics sometimes on Sundays. They have like a psychic come in.
I mean, I hate to say this, but like most comedy clubs have lost their spine.
Oh, they lost it a
Fully.
lot. I mean, I feel like you were doing comedy maybe when they had a spine. I feel like I've only experienced them not.
I saw the tail end
general.
of it. Yeah, I saw the tail end of when clubs booked because they thought something was good or not.
Yeah.
Back when there was a time, there are still, I'm going to say, honestly, maybe 10 comedy clubs in the country that still do it right and are succeeding at doing it right, but it's only because they lean into doing it right.
Sure, it just feels like a real tailspin because they'll follow the people who can bring an audience, just always.
Right.
And then those people's agents will start being like, hey, we're bringing the audience. What are you doing? 90% of the door goes to and the deals will become, you can't survive.
Right.
So then they'll have to go back to cultivating taste, and some of them will have lost the ability.
Well, a big thing happened after the pandemic where they panicked, which a lot of institutions panicked.
Yeah.
But comedy clubs panicked and started going straight to like the TikTok, and we've got to adjust how that phrase is used now, because there are comedians I know, love, and respect who blew up on TikTok, who blew up on YouTube, who blew up on Instagram. So I don't like using that phrase like TikToker anymore.
No. But we know.
But you know what I mean.
Someone who we only know is funny based on a completely different medium.
Right.
Sometimes not even funny. Sometimes just like, oh, they, they can do something crazy.
Right.
Like they could,
So clubs started booking these people who would pack it for one round. And it would be one round of 19, 20-year-olds who didn't want to drink. So the club made no money at the bar.
Yeah.
And then had a deal like what you're talking about, some insane door deal.
And they'll complain sometimes how like the TikToker in certain examples will end their set after 20 minutes. And they go, whoa, we haven't done second rounds.
Yeah, exactly. And then they bring them back and get only a third of the audience.
Yeah.
Because no one wanted to see that shit live again. And they were like, oh, fuck, okay. And then they went back to comedians. But a lot of comedians had been like, nah, fuck you. I learned the concept of a versus deal, and now I just do a venue in town.
Yeah.
Why am I coming back to you? When I needed you, you dropped the ball on me. I'm not. Now because I know a lot of comics who've done that, who've just walked away from clubs and are like, well, I could just do a music venue, charge the same ticket price, get a better door deal.
Especially some of those clubs that have no character, and you're like, this is just a room.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah. Anyway, I think that I don't know. I don't want clubs to go out of business, but there are a lot of clubs out there that are just making horrific, whatever. They're doing it all based on money, and I understand, but it's a business. Yes, but you still have to you still have to curate and have an idea and a vision for a business to survive.
Yeah.
You have to have a vision. You have to have this is what I want to cultivate, and that will make me money. Not just, I want to make money. If that's the only reason you open a business, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the business is.
And why would you deal with art? If you don't have any semblance of taste, go make money in any other field. Art is a field where you are having to find some kind of balance. You might want to make a lot of money and be rich, but still, there's better businesses if money is the only goal.
Right.
Beginning, middle, end.
Yeah. Banks.
Yeah.
Go be a banker. Go join. Yeah. Well, also, like you said it yourself just now. That sounded double rhetorical. You said it yourself just now.
Yeah.
Why be in this business if you don't have an idea?
Sure.
Yeah.
If you don't have a thing, you have to want to. Who doesn't want to be fucking rich?
Of course.
I love how everyone acts like, no, who the fuck doesn't want to be goddamn rich and successful? It's an insane idea that anyone doesn't want to do that. Yeah. But I also know there's a difference between like being rich and successful, but a complete fucking sellout, soulless entity versus being rich and successful on your own terms. That's the difficult thing, and that's what we're all shooting to do. But like, I think you have to have some vision, in order to even consider yourself like liable for this or in the category versus, man, some of these places that open and they'll open, like 25 minutes outside the city.
Yeah.
And they open in like a strip where like no one wants to be, no one wants to go. And they're catering to people who don't want to leave their homes.
Yeah.
And they put you up, the comic, in a hotel room by the airport. So you're like, everything about this weekend sucks.
Yeah.
I can't do anything during the day unless I drive or rent a car or Uber somewhere. I have to perform for people who are ignorant, who don't have any worldview or any experience, right? This is their one date night. What they want is me to go out there and be like, what do you do? I'm a carpenter. Like Jesus? Yeah. Ah! I mean, that's never even happened.
I'll make a note to delete that crowdwork clip I was about to put out.
That would actually be a fantastic moment. But you know what I mean? Like, how many times have you been in a showroom and you realize they don't want to hear anything I have to say?
Well, to a degree, I think I don't think I even have fully the experience that often of. I have enough fans come out that I do get a version of my show.
That's great.
I only went through, a certain era of truly I'm at the whims of what the club has cultivated.
Right.
And in a way, I think they can make you stronger in certain ways. In other ways, you don't get to like expand your wings as much as you might like to. But I just did Springfield, Missouri, and it was like the Blue Room.
The Blue Room.
And it was like one where there was a lot more just people who live there. And it was harder in certain respects.
Yeah.
It made me better in certain respects. And it was unique to what I would get some other places. I got a lot of people in there who looked at me. They disagreed with my views in a way that was fun to play with.
Right.
But
you're performative in a way, because this is the thing that I like. Because there was a time where I'd get in front of, years ago, you get up in front of an audience and it's like, oh, they don't care about what I have to say at all, but I'm going to win them over. The problem with that now, why it could be more difficult, is because you may be in front of that same audience, but now they want this other thing where you make the show about them.
Sure.
And there's a lot of comics right now, and I
cater to that.
That's their whole thing.
Yeah, but it's like do you come with a different name of what that is? Could you start saying like, oh, this is maybe the more common thing?
Stand
people
up.
go, oh, this is a crowdwork show.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an interactive show. What we need is more vocabulary.
Yeah. Or like spoken word.
Yeah.
Let's bring that back.
Sure.
I know. But I'm saying, like, a guy like you can at least perform in a way where they'll go, all right, I'm going to give this guy my attention, and then they'll start laughing.
Yeah.
And then they'll be, okay, I'll take the journey with them.
Sure.
I think that's important. I think that's important to be able to perform. Like, I pride myself on very few things, but one of them is that I have never pandered. I've taken the L more. I got a lot. If we're buying vowels or consonants, if the what is that, Wheel of Fortune ever runs lows on L's, I've taken a lot.
Yeah.
And I got some stocked up to fucking sell. But like, I have had those shows where I'm basically performing to silence, but 5 people at a table in the back come up to me afterwards like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I will follow you to the ends of the earth. I pride myself on that. Of just like, I've dealt with it and it sucks.
Do you remember your worst gig?
Oh, Christ, dude. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst gig I ever did was not that long ago. It was it was 2019. It was a private, which right away.
Right away.
Say no.
Private. Yeah.
But it was a private gig in New York, which double down, say no. But third, it was a birthday party, right? And I remember my agent set it up at the time, and I was like, why don't they just do this at a comedy club? Why don't they just rent a club? It's like, well, it's a bar, and it was a dad's retirement party, 50th birthday, and college graduation. So this guy, rich guy who had gone back to school.
Oh my God.
Right, and was graduating, but also had retired, earlier that year. But it was his retirement party, and his 50th birthday.
Too many things.
All these things.
You don't get all of them.
And I show up, and it's this combination of family, fellow classmates from Long Island University, right?
Oh my God.
Right, and employees. Right. There's no stage. There's a mic with an 8-foot cord and a fucking little amp.
Yeah.
So there's not much movement, and there's no focal point.
Yeah.
It's just like, here you go, now go. Here's the comedian. And the uncle, or I guess the brother of the dad was a weatherman in Boston. So he was the one who had the most speaking experience. So he got up, he went up first and gave me an intro, but it was very just like, all right, everyone, thanks for being here to celebrate guy, I can't remember his name. And here's your comedian, Sean Patton. And I'm just like, well, here we go. And it was, I mean, horrendous.
Did they give you like roast material? Like
No,
where you
no.
just do your set?
No, they're like, do an hour.
An hour.
1 hour.
Yeah, an hour's. And in that moment, like, did you go right out the gate and like just let your weird flag fly, or did you have a little bit of like, hey,
I remember
happy birthday, happy graduation?
Right. I started with that to just get everybody's attention. But then it was like this, where I am, I'm in front of the table where dad and family sitting, and this wing of the bar are all the students, all the younger kids, and then this giant fucking area of the bar is like family, everyone else. So I have to keep oscillating and trying to bring everybody back.
Yeah.
So I start trying to do crowd work, but it's not working because when I focus on this group, now this group's talking. So I got to switch back to here. Now I talk. Try material. It's just and also I'm not a short joke guy.
Sure.
So I'm like, why the fuck would they book me for this? Like I'm more of a storyteller, more of a whatever. But like, it's just going horrendously. So then I just abandon everything and I'm just trying to like do individual crowd work. But by this point, people have given up on me. And at one point, I forget exactly what I was talking about. Oh, no, I remember because someone had made a bet, or not a bet, someone had made a comment of like, I'll kiss him to me. So I kept trying to get the person who said that to come on stage, come up and actually kiss me.
Smart, yeah.
I was like, fuck it, let's just make this like that. Yeah. And then the dad, whose birthday party it was, goes, let's move on from this. From the kissing thing. And I was like, oof. And I got, which I would find out later was just over 20 minutes in when the uncle, who I did not see this happen, but got the son had arranged the whole thing. The uncle came back and took the mic from me. Just took it right out of my hand. I looked at him and he goes, "Thank you." Well, anyway, and I was
like, my God,
humiliated.
Oh my God.
Do you leave right away?
So I went and got my coat because this was in like February.
I would have left the coat.
Oh, it was a nice coat though. It's a good coat. I went and got the coat, and the son just walked right up and handed me the check, and I said no. I just was like, I don't want it. And, it was straight up just like, I don't even fucking want. I was like, that was no. And he shrugged and walked away. And as I was leaving, I feel someone grabs my arm and it's the dad, right? And he goes, "Hey man, take the money." He gave me the check. I was like, "Take the money, man." I'm like, oh. And he goes, "No, take it. I'm like, all right, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I apologize." And he goes, "No apology, man. He needed to learn a lesson. His son." I was like, okay. And I walked out. I still don't know what that means. I think it means that like his son thought he knew how to book a party or something. And I was like, what is that? Dude. But I took the money. I was just like, ugh. And I remember I went, Samuel.
Thank you for teaching my son about failure.
Wait, where's the thing, dude? Yeah. Exactly. I mean, exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. And Samuel Morrison?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So he had a show. It was not a don't tell, but it was like a don't tell type situation at this in this area of an apartment building in Chelsea. That was like I had a spot there and then two spots at the cellar afterwards. So I show up, I had an hour to kill. I show up at Samuel's show and I walk in, he gives me this look, he goes, "Were you just sexually assaulted?" And I go, "Wait, why?" He goes, "What's wrong?" I'm like, and I tell him the story. He's like, "Okay, good, Jesus." He's like, "It looked like you just got fucking drug into a van or something. Are you okay, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, thank you." And he like hugs me and he's like, "Are you sure you want to go on?" I'm like, I definitely want to go on. And I get on. I just tell the audience basically a more detailed, fresh version of that story. Got more like sympathy awes and everything. And then got to the cellar that night. And by that point, you shake it off and you just go. But like,
yeah.
But at
least you had other spots that night.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, when you have a bad, you're like, sometimes I'm like, there was times where I'd be like, I would pay someone to let me go on stage for 5 minutes right now. I'll just do some hits, feel okay.
Off, yeah.
Well, my girlfriend at the time, I had the check, and when I met up with her and told her the whole story, I told her, I was like, "I'm going to throw it away," and she goes, "Fuck you, give it to me right now." And if I wasn't, I would have tore the check up and just never deposited.
We're missing a key part of the story. How much?
$2,000.
Oh yeah, catch that baby.
I mean, I did.
Catch that baby.
I was like, yeah, but I was so distraught at the time. I was like, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve the shit. I suck. And this was 2019.
Yeah,
I'd been doing stand-up for a while by this point, so it's like, I was still, but no, the worst.
What if dads like
Dad-
used you to teach their sons
is so
about
funny.
dude? Well,
He
the
needs
bar
to learn
hubris.
that. He needs
One
to
of
learn.
the bartenders at that bar hit me up on like Instagram like a day later and was like, "Man, I'm a comedy fan. I've seen you do shit before. Like that was the odds were stacked against you, man. No one could have.
It's a crazy thing to book
Yeah.
someone for that kind of thing and not have it be like a sit down show. Like it's a crazy thing to just have an open party happening and you have to do jokes.
That's the beauty and the horrors of comedy where based on how it seems to go, it looks like it's you. It looks like it's all you.
Yeah, you wanna be like-
the comic killing with hack jokes, but they're murdering.
Yeah.
They look good. They look talented,
Yeah.
and someone who's good bombing. They look like maybe the worst person who's ever done this.
Yeah.
It's a thing of herd mentality where it's like people. I had to learn this. I had to learn this too. I'm not going to claim I knew this from the beginning. You have to learn to watch it in a vacuum, right? Like a lot of people shit on Drew Michaels' first special, the one he did for HBO where he had no audience.
Sure.
A lot of people shit on that. I loved it, and here's why: because it forced you, as an audience member, to have a fucking opinion on his jokes. He wasn't bombing or killing. He was just telling you his material. And yeah, he did the little interludes with that shit was weird.
I totally hear that,
but-
and then I go, that's like taking an orchestral piece and removing the violins and going like, well, it forced you to listen to I go, well, that's part of the music of what I like.
Okay.
I mean, I think his jokes are.
The laughter?
I think when Drew's writing at the top of his game,
Sure.
incredible,
Yeah. Sure. I
incredible
agree.
joke writer.
Yes, I agree.
And so part of me went like, I was like, that's great. No one's gonna want to see this version of the thing, except for like comedy aficionados who will go,
Right.
I can see the joke in its purest form.
But that's what I'm saying. I think even for people, because I know a couple people who are not aficionados who watched that and were like, a couple people who were like, what was that dog shit? But then some people were like, man, it was really interesting because I'd be laughing, but it's just you laughing. It's just you watching. And like, part of me enjoys that. I'm not saying everyone should do this.
No, I hear it.
But I do think there is an idea, like, because I now can watch, I confidently can watch a comic in the room and kill or bomb. I know if they're funny or not. For me, personally.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've watched some real fucking dog shit comics kill, and you're still like, well, that doesn't.
Yeah.
The other people's opinion doesn't affect mine, and vice versa. I've seen some greats. Just you're like, God damn, this is hilarious, and no one else here knows that.
Yeah.
But I'm also not of that mindset either. Of like, fucking, killings. No, I mean, killings should be the thing you.
Yeah.
Killing's like being rich. Who the fuck doesn't want to kill?
Yeah.
You
But
know what
how
I mean?
did you get there?
But how do you get there? And that's the
Whose rally did you have to speak at to get there?
yeah. So we just made this a whole
Yeah.
comedy. Oh the fuck! Jesus Christ!
Oh,
guys!
that's okay.
Oh no! One of my 17 alarms going off. You know.
Is that what you got? You got a lot of alarms? Is that how you
First-
get through the day?
Yeah.
We didn't mention that you came an hour early to the listeners.
I did.
So
I got a
sorry.
message.
That's not your fault. That's not anyone's
Yeah, why do
fault
you even
but-
apologize?
It's not anyone's
I
fault
just,
but mine.
the feeling of like when you go to something early, then you got to
Yeah,
kill
yeah,
time.
yeah.
It's a horrible. thing.
No, I mean, it's also, you're asking me to kill time in the Lower East Side.
It's true.
It'd be like one
a lot
thing
of
if it's like,
things.
well, I drove all the way to Red Bank, New Jersey, and
Yeah.
all the comic book shops are closed. Where did Kevin Smith get his ideas from? But this is, I just,
I'd love to, because I have what my therapist once deemed mild OCD, and I watched you discuss having OCD,
Yeah.
and like, because it sounds like I hear I've listened to enough about like your childhood, and at least compared to my childhood, it seemed like
Similar?
chaotic. Dropping out of high school.
Yeah.
At least at this age, I go cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But at that
But
time,
that
if someone
time,
told me
that
someone
was-
dropped
it
out of
was
high school, I'd be
wild.
like, oh my God, stay
Yeah.
away from them. Do you think? Do you look back on that era and does OCD, does it relate to behavioral things, or did it emerge later
sure.
in your life?
No, I mean, I got a pretty early diagnosis, but I also can like
What age?
18.
18.
But like I got but it was like, I was a terrible kid, like bad at school, bad at parental relationships, bad with friends, bad with everything because I was just going through it. Another reason why Louisiana is a dog shit fuckhole state. They don't encourage. There's no encouragement to do anything with your life or to get any help. Louisiana is a very just like Southern, like, well, fucking figure it out type shit. You know what I'm saying? And
Were your parents like that too?
No. I lucked out with my immediate family. My immediate family's fantastic.
So why do you think you rebelled against them?
Because at the time, I was a very shy kid. And the thing about OCD on any level is, especially when you know nothing about it, because every school you go to refuses to have any sort of class on mental health at all. It's all religion and it's all, you're terrified to be like, Mom, I have this reoccurring thought that drives me into fits of panic about grabbing your tits. You know what I mean?
What age do you remember that?
Oh my God.
14. You know what I mean?
And so is the thought, I'm gonna do it and it's gonna be a disaster?
No, the thought is, what if I did it right now? And then you're like, why do? And everyone has thoughts like that. You just, without a disorder.
I think about grabbing your mom's tits all the time.
Thank you, and they're good tits. For 72, they're fucking quality tits. But I mean, look, it's shit like that where you're like, oh man, what if it's like, man, hey, Dad, I've just been having this weird, like I'm afraid that I'm just gonna pull my dick out in front of you, or like you're in front of. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude, and I have younger siblings, and you're just terrified of even like thinking shit around them. When you're that age,
that's so interesting.
Because then it's shit like, hey, here's my little brother. What if I kill him? What if I can break his fucking neck? He's 4. I'm 16. I can do it so easy. And then you're like, why would I think that shit? And then it's like, because you want to do it. Like, no, you don't want to do it. But then you thought about it. But then you planned it out. The amount of times where you're just like, with friends, you're like, oh man, it would be so fucking crazy if I just ran him over. You're going up, like drive, or like you're in the car and you're like, what if I just pull the wheel? And then you can't unthink it. Man. And then you get in these like these spirals of like, it's always the most disturbing shit that catches. It's never the good stuff. And that's part of the disorder. Because you'll have those thoughts too of like, I should hug my dad right now. Or I should tell my sisters they're cool. But you don't run with those. Yeah. Instead, it's like, I should kick my sister in the fucking head. She's laying on the ground. I got boots on. I get fucking pulverized. Why?
What did you say when you were a kid?
Intrusive thoughts.
Intrusive thoughts. Yeah. My intrusive thoughts are always like, they're more, if I see an oven, I go, I go to the Holocaust. I'm like, oh, what if you're dying in an oven? What does it feel like? Or I'd have a lot of like, if the train's coming, it's like, what if I jumped? What if I just jumped? Or what if... But it's rarely, it's things happening to me more than it is, I'm gonna do this.
Well, also, it's like, I'm an empath. I know that about myself now. So all of my thoughts were always disturbingly sexual or violent. And it was because it's the opposite of what an empath wants. You know what I'm saying? You want to cause people joy because that's how you feel joy. Yeah. So the most disturbing thing to be would cause people pain so that you feel pain. Wow. Right? So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of like my own insecurity and pain being driven through disturbing ass fucking thoughts about everyone around me constantly.
What age do you remember?
It really started, I'd say, when I hit puberty. Like, right in tune. 14, 13, 14 was when but then even before that, I can remember as like a kid, as like a prepubescent 11, 12-year-old, like where it starts coming on. You know what I'm saying? Where you start like just staring at your grandma and just being like, what if I fucking just pushed her in I can just push her in, right? No. I push her in the pool. She got a walker. No, don't do that. My God. Don't do that. Don't do that. Whatever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they start spiraling into like, why do I want to kill grandma?
That's so intense.
And you're like, you don't want to kill grandma. Yeah. But then you start, so like just saying that out loud to a parental, at 17.
When did you say it out loud? When did you have, it's so easy, especially as a comedian, you could be like, I want to grab my mom's tits. But I imagine at 16, it's like, I would never speak this out loud to another human being.
And what that meant is I started not talking to my parents or my sister because I was terrified of just having the thought. So I was just ignoring them. I was just being like, fuck you. I was like, and that of course turned into a sort of rebellion of just like you start blaming them all of a sudden. You start putting it on.
Why are your tits out? Why are you always wearing that low cut dress?
Yeah. Why do you gotta be a fucking mom? You stupid bitch. And then you're like, but that's not her fault. And then you start not being around your siblings, and you're like, it's your fault I fucking look at you. Why you gotta be so young? And me want to kill you course I could kill you. You're so stupid and young. And you're like, I don't want to do that. But then you start then just pushing them away and hanging out with your buddies and getting fucked up all the time and, you know, taking Xanax out the wazoo just because that would kill the anxiety.
Yeah.
Intrusive thoughts feels like such a better word for. I remember when because OCD just has so many underpinnings. It seems so broad. It seems just like anything that's recurring in your brain.
And people also use it now as like almost like an adjective.
Yeah.
That's so OCD of you, you know, or like,
Oh, yeah.
oh man, I'm so OCD. I just can't, you know, I have to brush my teeth twice a day. I'm like, that's not.
But I also think it's like it's how do you talk about degrees where it's like I would never I would never be like I suffer from OCD, but I can look back on like when I was trying to learn how to drive and I had this thought of like a car's going to be behind me and I would do this thing, I'd be on the road and I need to just like turn like 12 times for some reason. I just had to turn to make sure there was no car behind me in a way that
That's a spectrum.
I wasn't in a.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Well, so
but it's
like-
hard because I think some people, when they use it as an adjective, there's a mix. There's some people use it because they're like, I like things to be tidy. And there's some people who are like, I really like things to be tidy. And if they're not, I get mad. And it's like, but maybe a little.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but then this is where the compulsive part comes in. Then you start developing tics to counteract these measures.
Yes.
Sort of like to prevent myself from ever going on a mass murdering spree. You start being like, you know, and it's always based in some random ass shit. You know, the one I use in my special was like microwaving nothing for 33 seconds to prevent nuclear war. You know?
And so you would do that.
I did that for years. Every single night of my life. For years.
What was the first time?
The first time was a religious thing. Was a lot of that shit's based in religion, but I can't remember the exact specifics of the first time. But the first time was 33 was the year Jesus died. It was the age Jesus died.
Oh,
right.
You just had the thought.
So if it was something along the lines of 33 seconds, microwave nothing, and then it was like that will the 33 seconds of radiation coming from the microwave will siphon off all the radiation of all the warheads in the world.
Yeah.
And prevent them from ever being launched. It's something crazy like that you know is completely illogical, but you're so fucking terrified of these thoughts and the possibility of you actually acting on them that you will take these compulsions as the thing that prevents them.
Mine,
as the
Did
antidote.
anyone know that you were doing like that? Like,
This is why every single TV show or movie about someone with OCD has been just unbelievably inaccurate.
Yeah.
Monk, love Tony Shalhoub, completely inaccurate depiction. As Good as It Gets, Jack Nicholson, of course, also completely inaccurate because they've painted these characters as comfortable with people witnessing them have tics. And that is just not the case.
Yeah.
Did you
That
ever?
is not the case.
Did you ever actually put something in the microwave for the ritual?
Nothing could be in there.
Nothing could be in there.
Dude, when I'm talking, I would do it at sleepovers. I would do it at friends' houses. I would do it. I just had to do it once a day.
Any sleepover where they said, "Where are you going?
Yeah.
Where are you going, Sean?"
Multiple times in my life, I've pretended like, oh, fuck, I forgot to put.
Wow.
Or timed it that way where I was like, oh, we're getting pizza. Yeah. And I microwave 33 seconds. I'm like, oh, I forgot to put the slice in. Well, 2, 1, boop. And then.
Wow.
But then there was other ones like walking through, if a door had, if it pulled out, right, I could walk through. But if it went in, I had to walk through it backwards, right? Wow. That one would.
And would you, with your friends, would you just be like, "Hey guys," and like
1,000%.
Oh,
1,000%.
man. I had
1,000%.
when I was like really like my OCD really it felt like it doubled with like an existential crisis, and I was always like, what happens when you die? What happens when you die? And I would have this thing like if I could guess when a number would if I'd be on the Stairmaster and I'd be like, if I can guess when the next number is going to change on like a calorie counter, like it's going to happen in 3, 2, 1, or the elevator is going to open in 3, 2, 1, and I'd be like, if it happens, I've proven there's like a whiff of logic in the sense of like, if it happens, that means psychicism is real and there's an afterlife. And I would just do it as like a little game.
Yeah.
And I never like it never happened once. And I said, great, all set on that.
Right.
I no longer have fear. But it like interacted in a weird way.
That's the thing. You know, anyone with OCD, and there are people with far more extreme versions of me, but you are 100% aware that it's not real, but you are terrified of the probability of it happening if you don't do these things. That's the disorder part, right? And it starts small. It starts with little tics to prevent you from grabbing your mom's tits. and then it bleeds out to the rest of the world. It starts with bigger ticks to prevent, fucking killer bees.
I heard bigger tits.
Bigger tits for bigger tits. Dicks for tits. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you're saving the world one OCD compulsion at a time.
Oh.
And then, in a nut, this is the thing. This is what I dropped out of high school, but my parents did not know. I, for almost 2 weeks, just pretended like I was going to school every day. And I would just get up and leave the house and then just wander around Slidell, Louisiana by myself.
Yeah.
Right? Hiding. Sometimes I would go to someone's house. I had a lot of friends who were half days. I'd meet up with them. I had places to go, but would lie. And that shit was spiraling. And I started having like day-long anxiety attacks where I was just for a day. And I became religious. And I suddenly turned to so I went to church one Sunday by myself. And I was at a state of I was in hell. I was just like, I had anxiety from the moment I woke up. And not just, I'm talking panic attacks. If you've ever had an anxiety attack, that feeling of like, everything's about to fucking end
I'm gonna
now
die.
for days at a time. And I'm in church and church happens. And then, everyone's leaving and the priest is at the doorway greeting everyone on their way out. And I remember like walking out and the priest, 2 people for me. He's like, thank you for coming. God bless. Thank you for coming. God bless. And then to me, he goes, stay sane. Right. And that sent me into this, like, why would he say that? Of all the things. And I went and sat in my car and just bawled. Just bawled because I was like, it was God. God was telling me, stay sane. Oh my, And I drove home and went right to my parents and just fucking copped to everything. Just fessed up. Like, I dropped out of school 2 weeks now. I've been lying. I'm insane. I'm going insane. I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
I've been feeling like this for years. I'm so sorry. Please don't commit me to that kind of shit. My parents handled it very well. Put me in therapy like 2 days later. Saw a therapist for the first time. 2 days at like two sessions in, he was like, "Yep, obsessive compulsive disorder for sure." And the process started of like the heal, and I felt so much better. But I was for a few days religious, and then I went back to church the following Sunday again alone. Big mass, same thing, same priest, and I'm a little further back on the greeting line, and I see him, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go talk to this priest again, same priest, and I witness it again, but further up, it's, geez, thank you for coming, God bless. Thank you for coming, God bless. And then there's someone else who goes, stay sane. And I noticed that, and I step back, and I watch it happen. It's just, thank you for coming, God bless. Thank you for coming, God bless. Stay sane to another person. So stay sane was just the third thing he said.
Yeah.
Right?
And by the way, he's probably got OCD, and he's like, every third person I gotta say,
every
stay
third
sane,
person I say,
or I'm gonna
stay
lose
sane.
my mind.
Right. And if that's the case, that's the level of coincidence that made man invent God in the first place. But I still went up to be like, hey, let's see what he says to me though.
Yeah.
And I was just a thank you for coming, God bless this time. Yeah. And that sent me into a different spiral. And I sat in my car this time and fucking laughed to myself. Because then it was like, none of that.
Oh God, there is no.
Well, I was like, if there is a God, God wanted me to know it wasn't religion.
Yeah.
That it was me.
Yeah.
That it was me. That it was me finally, whatever the circumstances that made me finally take the step to help myself, I did.
Yeah.
But don't give Catholicism the credit at all.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like if there is a God, God was like, hey, well, hold on. I'm going to make you be 2 more people behind, or like maybe it was more than that, like 10 people behind, so you see that it's all a fraud. The first time you fell for it, you were susceptible. If you'd have been paying attention, you probably would have saw that 3 people before he said the same thing, but you didn't. You were in your head for 3 days straight.
Do you ever worry if you ever go to church again, you'll be like, oh, let's just do it, and then the guy shakes your hand and goes, you stop microwaving for 33 seconds every night. What are you doing? The apocalypse is coming.
Then I would be like, you listen to the podcast? I'd be like, how much did they pay you? They got to you, didn't you? That would be hilarious. That would actually.
Did you take medication eventually?
I did. Yeah, I was. I was prescribed to a low dose of Xanax for a while.
Okay.
Right, just to kill the anxiety.
Yeah.
And I got off of it by choice after a while, because it's like, for that first week it was nice just being like everything's great, but then there was a level of like, I don't like being sedated.
Yeah.
I just don't enjoy it all the time. And I prefer to take the steps to just do like therapy and just deal with it. Now, but I'm fortunate in that regard that, I mean, I know this is another segment. Things we're supposed to be fortunate for, but I am fortunate in that regard that I have I'm at a manageable place on that spectrum. I know there are people far worse that need medication, and I encourage that.
Yeah, of course.
But I encourage that wholeheartedly. But I'm in a part where it's like, all right, man, I can.
Do you know how in what season of
I have to burp 4 times, or this podcast doesn't go viral.
Oh God, if that's the case, get ready, guys. What season did Lena Dunham in Girls suddenly like get crippling OCD?
Oh, I don't know what season, but it was in the middle. Like it was like, like
Could that be a storyline for English teacher next year?
That Marky has
Just
crippling OCD.
Crippling OCD, and it just gets real dark and real.
Marky, it would be more Marky's like just on the spectrum in a way no one saw. Like there's a level of autism to him. And,
yeah.
And it's like, okay,
I think he'd be like, no, it's not OCD. It's a real thing I have to do.
yeah. No, man, I have to fucking be a football coach.
Have you ever acted this much in your life?
No, this is my first big acting thing. I mean, I've done like a handful of, I was on a couple episodes of Marin back in the day, but like, small parts. I did it.
But you're really great. I mean, I hate to compliment my guests on the show, but like you really, especially because every person in that show is a very good actor.
Yeah.
And like a good, I wouldn't call it sitcom acting because it doesn't feel sitcom-y, but just like comedic, grounded in realism, absurd situation acting.
Oh yeah. I mean, Brian and Stephanie both are like able to just click in a way that's like
so fast,
otherworldly.
and so,
they could just be like in conversation, like act, and they're just immediately locked in. It's like beautiful to witness.
And what's the guy from Just Shoot Me? Forgive me.
Enrico Colantoni.
Enrico Colantoni. Because I watched Just Shoot Me when I was a kid, like in a weird, like by myself. It wasn't something.
Yeah.
And so really to like, there's a feeling of nostalgia every time I see him.
Yeah.
And he's just, I love a good cantankerous, like grumpy older, God, please don't bother me, Jesus Christ.
He is professionalism personified.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like watching that guy do takes, you're just like, okay, that's acting.
Also, some amazing guest stars that come on, like just so funny.
Oh, yeah.
That woman that did the conservative mom,
and
then the woman that obviously the mom, the sex mom, like the
local.
Oh, my God.
She lives in Atlanta too.
God,
She's great.
she's so
Really?
great.
Do you know this is your film's in Atlanta? Oh yeah. This is from the Claremont Lounge.
Oh,
That I did. Have you been there yet?
I've never been more than
Oh, my-
15 times.
Did I tell you that's where I want to take you?
yeah, you did. You told me about it. Yeah.
Claremont's a good time.
Oh, I said
Claremont's a good
it's the
time.
one strip club that makes you appreciative of your girlfriend.
Oh,
I go
yeah.
back and I'm like, baby, you are beautiful. You go there, you go, that's someone's grandma up there.
Oh,
dear.
wow.
But it's fun. I mean, it's like, it's a mix. It's a mix of some people are dancing, some people it's more like a bit. I didn't see the woman who smashes a beer can with her tit.
You did not?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I wanted to see her. It's like people would say like, "Oh, is so and so still there?" No, I think she died. And you're like, "No." And not of natural causes.
yeah.
Well, now they do the thing there where it'll be like 3 or 4 strippers in a row that are like older and you're throwing them dollar bills.
Yeah.
Because they're behind the bar, right? And you're crumpling, and some of them will have like a little basketball goal with a bucket, and you're throwing them, you're just launching bills. But then they'll throw in the one like, oh, that's too attractive.
Sure.
They'll throw in the one like, oh, and also remember this is
Yeah,
you want a lap dance because here's this option, and now 3 more. But and I mean, that place is Atlanta's fun. Well, one of the other Carmen Christopher who plays Rick, who's fucking
Incredible.
Oh, yeah.
so
so
funny, just brilliantly funny. And kicking it with him in Atlanta was fun too because him and I would go and do the shows.
Oh yeah.
And Atlanta's got a fun local comedy scene. Like it's like we would just go all up in the. So that was filming in Atlanta was awesome. Like those. I hope we still get to film in Atlanta.
Do you ever, if acting took more, like, do you want to stand up to the end? Like,
I would never stop doing it.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, I love acting. And I put it like this. I've always loved acting because I've gotten that question a lot lately. It was like, which do you like more? I'm like, I look at them like children. Like I don't.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
disagree. It's just like, things the narrative of everyone's life is stand up gets taken away because it's hard.
Yeah.
Hard on the body, it's hard on the soul.
It's hard.
Shoot dates are early.
Right.
You go, I want a nice dinner. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, and like sure, but at the same time, like acting for me was like something that I wanted to do, but stand up was the thing I did first.
Yeah.
And like and it's my core love, and so is acting. But like, you know, I went through the years of auditioning and all the bullshit, and you're showing up to these auditions like, why am I reading for high school jock number 3? I'm 34.
Yeah.
I have a beard. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. And like, and then you're reading for these parts that you're like, there's no reason for them to even consider me. But it's agents just peacocking is what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, but like, and then you get something like this and you're like, okay, maybe it was all, you know, you got to go through the process. But also, right place, right time, really.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that too.
Let's go on to This Has Gotta Stop.
This has gotta stop.
You did your This Has Gotta Stop, and it was a good one.
We could do more.
You got another one?
No, I want to hear yours.
Okay. My This Has Gotta Stop. I saw this movie. It was my anniversary weekend.
Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Wait,
4 years.
How many?
4 years.
Wow.
We met in August of 2020.
Okay. Good time.
Yeah, and we had a good staycation hotel in Williamsburg, and we saw this movie, Andrew Garfield and what's her name?
I don't know.
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Pugh?
And
Okay.
and it's called We Live in Time.
Yeah.
And it's very much like it's a heavier, but not that heavy, but it's a romance and the ups and downs of romance. And sometimes it was good. It was good. Besides, I walk away and I go like, yeah, this is propaganda for the traditional get married, have a kid, because this kid, my This Gotta Stop is the way that they portray kids in like rom-coms or whatever. This kid is like doesn't misbehave. It never throws a fucking fit.
Oh,
It never screams. There's a scene where, you know, Florence Pugh, spoiler alert, she gets cancer, and they have the head shave scene, and they're gonna do it with the daughter there, and it's like a glorious family moment.
Yeah.
And like show the one where they start, and she goes, "I want to watch SpongeBob,"
Yeah.
and he goes,
"Oh, you're ugly. You're scary now."
yeah, like
You
or
know?
starts crying. Instead, it's like they're dancing and like, "Mommy, you look beautiful," and like where, like I just don't buy it. Do one strand. He goes, "This is a big moment for Mommy. Can you please?" I will buy you ice cream after. I need you to do this, Mom. This is really hard for her. And so I just and it was one of those movies. Sometimes I see a movie with Tova, and it's like there needs to be a period where I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There's sometimes we complain a lot together, and then sometimes it's like, no, that was beautiful, right? I'm like, well, and she's like, so you hated it? I'm like, well, okay, I guess I loved it, I did.
Yeah.
But kids, show me the real thing.
Yeah.
Show me the real thing. If I walk out of a movie that's about life and death and marriage, and the thought is I should get married and have a family, the movie was too simple.
Yeah.
I should walk out being like, oh my God, life is
It's
complicated.
Yeah.
Tova, we're done. I don't want to have kids. I don't have kids, and I know you do.
Or like walk out like, baby, we should shave your hair. That was my takeaway. Like it kind of looks sexy.
Yeah, dude.
Do you have This Has Gotta Stop?
Yeah, real quick. This guy.
Hold up. Don't say real quick.
Okay.
It can
Why?
be whatever it is. You
Okay.
say it every time.
Oh, okay.
You go, This Gotta Stop real quick.
Okay.
Real slow.
Real slow. This guy stop. It's Halloween time. So there's a lot of Halloween movies and things on the streaming platforms. That's great. That's fine. I like Halloween. I like horror movies. What's got to stop is if you're going to have a series of movies, put it all on one platform. Okay. If you're going to have A24's that X, Maxine, Pearl, you know, there's that A24 horror trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Max has X and they have Maxine. They have 1, they have 3, but 2, where's 2? I got to go to Amazon to find and get Pearl. The second one, Max has Scream 1 through 3. Netflix has 4.
What?
And then Paramount Plus has 5 and 6. It's chaos. If you're gonna have a franchise,
Right.
you have to figure out a way to get all of them on one streaming platform. I just don't like that you have to, because sometimes I don't have every single streaming platform, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start a franchise, and then I'm gonna have to skip one of the movies in it. Do you know what I'm saying? I think the only good thing that Disney does is when they buy a franchise, they get like the whole thing. So you can like, oh, they got all the Aliens movies on Disney Plus through Hulu. But it's just
Thank God for the centralization of power.
But anyways, that's been annoying me with horror movies, because sometimes they'll have things, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta get out of this app, and I gotta go to my computer and look what is streaming this, and it's a whole thing.
It's a miserable thing of all these platforms competing in a way where they're just making it miserable for the consumer every which way. And I'm sure HBO tried to get the number 2 A24, and then the other platform said you have to pay an insane amount of money for it. And it's just like, guys,
but
please.
how do they get 1 and 3 so easily? It's just that's what I don't
Who
understand.
knows? Different producer, different deal, one expired, different actor. But I agree. It's bullshit.
Nice.
And by the way, when you go to Hulu, you'll type English. English teacher hasn't popped up yet, and I go, "What the fuck?"
You gotta go Disney Plus.
You got a Disney Plus?
It's on Disney Plus too.
Oh, Jesus
Hulu is
Christ!
now,
But it's through Hulu. Like Hulu.
it's FX, Hulu, Disney.
Yeah.
We got to fucking and then you got Brian Jordan Alvarez has to do like, hey, New Zealand, it's on the Sky Plus Disney Channel.
Well,
check it out, and it's like a nightmare.
What I liked is when I watched English Teacher at the end of every episode of English Teacher, they would be like, you enjoyed that. What maybe would you want to enjoy this? And it's A Teacher, which is that show where that woman fucked a kid, and you're like, this is not the same thing.
Is what you liked about this show the school?
What you liked about the school? Do you like that show and then wish that maybe they would fuck a kid on the like? You're like, wait, how are these the same? This is a comedy.
We're distracting everyone while someone else fucks the kids. Don't you get it?
Every single time they would promote that show, a teacher that no one watched. I was like, why are you promoting this?
That's the reveal.
Yeah.
Is that this whole time kids are getting fucked.
Yeah.
Oh no, teachers are getting.
Do you
fucked.
like that the word teacher is in the title?
It'd be like you watch theater camp. Be like, do you like camps? Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Jesus.
Let's go on to You Better Count Your Blessing.
Yeah.
You better count your blessing.
You better count your blessing. You got a blessing, Sean?
I mean, I did say it earlier, but I will say it again because it is a blessing. Is that I do have a manageable crazy, and I feel like we all got one. Everybody's got a crazy.
Yeah.
And I love when you bring that up, and there's a guy online who's like, "Why does everybody gotta get crazy now? I ain't got a crazy." You're like, yeah, clearly, bud. Clearly, you're adjusted as fuck. That's why I can hear you shouting through your all caps response.
Sure.
You fucking.
It's tough.
Dipshit.
It's like something I thought. I originally was of the mindset where I was like, yeah, therapy for everyone. And then we got this watered down version of therapy.
Yeah.
And now I like understand why people would be resistant to therapy. It's become like, I think it got painted as like a liberal, coastal elitist thing. And you're like, okay, could you talk to someone?
Yeah.
Could you
talk about
change
it?
Can you talk to someone that's not immediately involved in the consequences of your life so you can speak openly? Let's have a new forum.
But also don't this should have been in a this has got to stop moment, but don't fucking weaponize it because I can't stand that person.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah.
Because like hey, guess what? You're autistic? Great. So are we all. Everyone is on the fucking like when the person who's like a successful human being in life who's got pretty much everything going awesome, but they're a little awkward, and then it's like, turns out I'm autistic, and then it like gathers sympathy. I'm like, what are you doing?
Sure.
You should be thanking whatever heaven you believe in or energy that you are autistic, because clearly it made you this person, and now you're fucking living a great life.
Yeah,
you should be telling everyone, guys, awesome, I'm autistic.
Yeah.
This is great. But you meet those people who are like, oh, well, I have depression. I'm like, that sucks. But also that doesn't mean you get out of paying your half of the bill right now. You know what I mean? Like, I will never use OCD as an excuse, ever.
Sure.
Because that's one of my tics. If I use it as an excuse, the polar ice caps fully melt. So
it sounds like you must have been using it for an excuse a lot.
I realize that was a bad example. I've used it a little too much lately. No, but you know what I mean. Like I just feel like you got to find we all have to openly talk about the shit because we all are struggling in some way. But also don't use it as an excuse to not be a human either.
Yeah.
Be a human being and fucking own. Why don't people? There's something about just admitting you're wrong sometimes, which is what a lot of people can't do. And it's like, I'm wrong. That's all.
Yeah.
And then you get to be right. So at another time. And that was the final one.
Hell yeah.
Admit you're wrong for not wanting me to come to your house. Wait, what am I don't need to do this. This riff was a wrong choice. I admit that I was wrong for attempting one more of these riffs. Nailed it with the first three. Fourth one was questionable. This one was unnecessary. Thanks, LaCroix, for sponsoring my inner monologue.
Russell, do you have a blessing?
Yeah, I saw a really good play recently, and it's just been a long time since I'd seen like a live, like a play where it's not just like a fun comedy thing. It's like it made me cry, and I was like, oh, it's been years.
Lion King?
No, it's called The Hills of California. It's an English play, but it was really good. It was funny and sad, and I was
Is this Broadway?
Broadway, yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Broadway's still referred to as the Great White Way.
It is,
That's weird, right?
despite everything.
There was a moment in 2020 we said, well,
Great.
Yeah.
my
Also, Tim Dillon was there. I didn't get to say hi, but he was in the audience, which was I didn't expect to see Tim Dillon. At
was you with JD Vance, or was that just on the podcast? My blessing. So Tova and I, so we did this staycation in Williamsburg. We went to a show, this place called Red Pavilion, and it was like kind of burlesque and drag, and it was, we just were drunk and on shrooms, and it was a blast. And then the drag queen knew me from comedy, recognized me, and I was so thrilled. And she said, do you want to get into House of Yes? And House of Yes is like, I don't dance, and Tova always wants to dance, and I always go like, please no. But like, if I have a drag queen letting me in through the back, and I get to be in like the more quiet area, and I get a drink, it was very nice. So
and you get to have sex with another couple, isn't that?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And it was so nice. And then there was a taxidermist there, 2 taxidermists, just like making a vibe, like doing. I don't think they were selling anything, but it was Divya, who we had on the podcast a long time ago, and like between having a drag queen who liked my work, and then this person I'd worked with, it was a moment of like, oh, I made work for the people that I enjoy being around and the spaces I enjoy inhabiting. Yeah. And it's off the beaten track, and it's queer, and it's theatrical, and it's like, good. I'm known in the places I'd want to be. And it was very nice. Yeah. Until someone came, there was a lot of people in costumes there.
Okay.
And then someone walked up to me and Tova and said, "Are you two dressed as millennials?"
Wow. Is millennial a bad thing now?
I guess so.
That's old now.
It's definitely like,
that's hilarious.
It's
always
costume.
one of those funny things where you're like, every generation goes through it, where you're like, where you forget that you're gonna be old at some point. Like, like the Gen Z, you're like, well, you're gonna be old. Like, and that's like, but everyone's scared of it. And,
I mean, Gen Xer right here. So I'm like past that point.
Can I tell you what I've noticed getting older is, like I was at a show and, my assistant was there helping with stuff, and Spice Girls was playing, and it was Spice World. And I say to her, you know who this is? And she's like, no. And I'm like, how do you not know who this is? And it's such a projection of like,
are you being oblivious, Spice, right now? Because that's who you are.
I'm like, how I'm gonna die someday, and it's proved by the fact that you don't even know who this band is that you should know. It's such a weird feeling of like, that I think as you get older, you gotta sit on, or else you become that guy who's like, how could you not? You don't know who Leonard Skinner is?
That's all you do. Would
Freebird?
Be like, how do you, and then, well, in their defense, like Spice Girls, I think made music for like 2-year period, and then like didn't really make more.
And then
music.
a movie.
So yeah.
And then a movie.
So it's not like they were like they're still like making new music.
But
you're
Spice
like,
of your life, you never even heard this song.
Yeah.
It's you go sort of Jeff Goldblum when you get.
I took it. I did the impression long enough. I get it. I have it in my stand-up. I think of it like a little tool. When the setup's a little long, I add a little musicality.
Someone, this is a social experiment. Like, should open a pop-up down the street from House of Yes called like Loft of No.
Yeah.
And you just walk in and people shout at you for whatever you are. and see how the line that will go around the corner, because everyone's just self-deprecating these days.
Yeah.
Instead of a taxidermist, it's a doctor.
Yeah. What is the opposite of like a dance, like a wild dance party?
A dancey sex club?
Like a, I don't know.
Everyone
like an accountant service.
Yeah, everybody
just
goes to sleep.
Yeah.
In separate beds.
Yeah.
Like a conservative art school.
Yeah.
There you go.
What do you want to plug? This is coming out again November 26th.
It's so this coming weekend, 29th and 30th of November. right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, because Thanksgiving's on Thursday. 29th and 30th of November, I'm at the Port in Baltimore, Maryland. Come check it out. And tickets are hopefully not available by now, but maybe they are available still. So come on. That place is actually rules. And, I'm on tour for the rest of the year. A couple more dates with David Cross, but then, back with myself. And
just because we have a lot of gay fans, what episode can they see you in the pool?
I want to say it was episode 7.
Episode 7.
Yeah, it's episode 7. Me topless in a pool.
There you go. I will be. Oh, Russell, what do you want to plug?
Oh, well, you missed my show for the New York Comedy Festival. That was last week. Follow me at Russell J. Daniels on Instagram. And then should we plug our tour, I guess? But I guess that's far enough away that we don't have to worry about it. We're going to be doing a tour in the winter. Don't worry about it now.
In the winter?
The spring.
Oh, the winter. Oh, I was thinking December.
It's February. Well, no, March.
We got some tour dates coming up.
You
Stay
got a lot
tuned.
of time. You got
Check
time.
the comments. If it's been announced yet, they'll be in the comments.
Yeah.
I will be in Lexington, Kentucky, November 29th and November 30th. And then weekend after that, I will be in Dallas, Texas at the Addison Improv, December 6th, 7th, and 8th. So get those tickets. Join the Patreon. If you watch on YouTube, do me a favor. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, both. Give us a rating.
Yeah.
Just do it real quick right now. It would help the show tremendously, even though you watch it. And go watch English Teacher. It's so fucking good.
So good.
It's
Thank you.
so goddamn good. Is there like a line that people have quoted back to you that your character says, or a thing?
No, I mean the most I've gotten is people are like, "Dad, you're like my uncle." I'm like, yeah. I'm like everyone's uncle. That's where it's like that's why I got the cut. That's why I got the part. I know this guy. I grew up with this guy.
Yeah.
This is The Downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside. You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.